And we're back.
We are back.
We're back with round 5.
What an extended break. I think that last match was just so quick.
So, well, we've been running into this awkward situation where when we finish the modern game, all of the other games are in game 3. So we can't just move players over. Yeah. We have to make them stop. We're not doing that to players.
No,
it's just a whole thing. So for this round, we're very excited because Pro Tour champion Wyatt Darby is in the feature match area.
So when I said that people want the competitive magic,
although we are not actually watching Wyatt, he is on the team. He is not on the camera, unfortunately.
Wow.
So we are watching Temur Rhinos.
Yeah, same player, Chris.
It is the same player, yes. Yeah. So this team is currently 4-0.
Yeah, they're sort of locked in.
They are locked into the top 8, but their opponent, who is in second place, is 3-0-1.
Yeah,
and there are 3 teams at 3-0-1, and none of them can draw.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So the 4-0 team could potentially scoop to the 3-0-1 team, which would lock both teams. However, they don't want to do that because they would like to knock Wyatt's team out of contention for the top 8.
They want to play against him in the top 8. That, honestly, like from a standpoint of like,
oh my goodness,
how well you think you could do in the top 8, it's totally reasonable to try to knock them out.
I wouldn't want to play against Wyatt Darby's team.
And it's totally okay to be like, there's less pressure too, right? Like, if you lose this, you're still in.
You're still in, yes, absolutely.
But if you win it, then you never have to play him again. You're done.
Yeah. So at the top of your screen, once again, Chris running it back.
Temur Rhinos.
3 rounds in a row. At the bottom of your screen is Adam on Izzet Murktide.
Izzet Murktide. Interesting that this is the first time we've seen this deck. Because it is, I would say, arguably the most popular, or not the most popular, but like the most mid-range of mid-range decks in the format.
It does make up a large portion of Modern's metagame. However, in our local metagame, Murktide is not very popular.
Correct. Why is that?
Because it's a very medium deck. Murktide is kind of your 49% deck. Not really good against anything. Not really bad against anything either. You kind of are able to capitalize on your opponent's misfortunes. So if they make a misplay, you can capitalize on that.
Yes.
If they mulligan, you can capitalize on that. If they fail to draw lands, you can capitalize on that. Murktide is really, really good at taking
advantage of
taking large swaths of the advantage bar of your opponent's misfortunes.
Yeah, it's got good threats. It has excellent answers.
Yep.
It has great tempo plays that it can do, but it can also just die really hard if the opponent knows what they're doing and has a deck with a solid game plan that can outpace them, or is that is more effective a la a combo deck.
What are we doing? We're
What's happening?
We have an arrow
and a smiley face.
And a smiley face.
All right.
Nice.
I love. Today has been such a great experience for everybody. I think if you go out and walk around, people playing right now, they're all in great moods.
Yep.
It's like nice outside. We've got the doors open. It's raining a little bit here in central Iowa.
Yep.
And it's hard to be in a bad mood when there are so many people having fun.
Yes, absolutely.
And even though this is competitive Magic, and we're going for some top tier Magic, if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So we've got Scalding Tarn v. Scalding Tarn, Spider-Man looking at Spider-Man here.
And a
Ragavan. Yeah, this is sort of the quintessential turn 1 Ragavan deck, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, we've probably got a lightning bolt coming down.
And I also think that this deck makes the best use of turn 1 Ragavan,
especially in this matchup. And he's dead and gone.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Dead Gone is the de facto Temur Rhinos answer to Ragavan.
Yeah, so they basically both went to 17 and both to put 2 cards in their graveyard.
The good news is that Murktide can make really good use of those cards in the graveyard.
Honestly, I never thought about this card being a factor in the format ever, but just the fact that it's a 4-mana card that can shock something.
Yep.
Because it's such a limited number of cards in Modern that have 3 toughness. And we've got a Darcy coming down. Dragon's Rage Channel is sort of an all-star Modern Horizons 2 uncommon. It's going to, while the turn 1 Ragavan is optimal, having a turn 1 or turn 2 DRC is also fantastic. Because it's just, so right now we've got 2 card types in the graveyard. We have land and creature.
Yep.
And all we have to do is instant and sorcery. And that's so easy to do for DRC.
It is, yes.
Because we can cast an instant, and if we mill a sorcery, it's immediately a 3/3 with haste and fly. With flying.
Not only that, but Dragon's Rage Channeler has this inert ability to smooth out your draws.
It does, yeah.
So every time you cast a spell, you get to decide whether or not you want to draw the next card of your library next turn. So for a long time, like the best cantrip that was in Modern was Serum Visions. And I absolutely cannot stand that card.
It's so rancid.
I detest that card. And
it's the
first tournament that I sat down to play after Modern Horizons 2 had come out, someone cast a Dragon's Rage Channeler, and then they cast a Serum Visions, and I said, wow, that card actually kind of makes Serum Visions good.
Yeah. Because you get to see 3...
You get to look at 4 cards.
Yeah, because it's... You can
surveil 1, then you draw, then you scry 2.
Yes. And so it's... But it's still not optimal. Like, Consider is sort of the only 1 mana. So now we're hitting a Crashing Footfalls. Sort of the same tap dance here, right? Where...
yes. Temur Rhinos...
I really like how he's doing this here.
Temur Rhinos tends to play pretty face-up.
And we're getting the Spell Pierce. That's totally reasonable, right? Like, spending the 1-for-1 on that.
Yeah, you don't want your opponent to have Rhinos.
No. And the Violent Outburst does nothing, right?
Correct.
So... if there's a card to do it to, and he's looking through the deck, just kind of examining what his card selections are. This is sort of one of the downsides of Rhinos.
You get to show them your entire deck.
You have to.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's all face-up information.
Yep.
Spell Pierce, a nice main board answer. The Murktide tends to be so mana efficient that its counter spell even is very hard for it to hold up because it wants to be deploying threats. No, obviously after turn 3 or 4, they can afford to hold up the counter spell. In the first turns, you want Spell Pierce, you want Spell Snare. Sometimes you just want the Lightning Bolt or the Unholy Heat.
Sure.
And then a lot of times it'll hold up that mana just to consider. And then we're having another Cascade.
Yep, this is the Shardless Agent, and in response we see a cracking of the Scalding Tarn there.
Yep.
Then I put an island into play.
Are we getting another?
So the issue with Spell Pierce here is that it doesn't kill the 2/2.
Right. Yeah. It's not making it a bad play. It's effectively stripping a card out of his hand.
There is another Spell Pierce. We'll get a Surveil trigger. Looks like a Dress Down going to the bin, and
you have Delirium
now we have Delirium.
Yeah. This is right where Murktide wants to be. They're up on life points. They have a 3/3 that has to attack.
Yep, they've survived the first few turns of the game. Now they can capitalize on that.
They can hold up mana now.
Yep.
This is sort of what we talked about where they have to be mana efficient. Now they have a 3/3 flying threat.
Yep.
They're ahead on life total.
Yep.
And now if you're the Murktide player, you have Counterspell in hand, maybe you have Spell Snare in hand, and you're just waiting.
Yep.
So now we're suspending this.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think it's totally reasonable.
Not going to leave it in my hand.
Unfortunately, a little face up, it allows Murktide to have a lot of time to counter it, right?
Yep.
It comes in with 4 suspend counters on it.
It does. Crashing Footfalls has 4 suspend counters on it, and we have a 4-turn clock with the Dragon's Rage.
We got to consider coming down. And at this point, now he can start deploying additional. Okay, we've got the
Mishra's Bauble. Mishra's Bauble looks awesome.
Milling another Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah, Mishra's Bauble looks awesome when you have a Dragon's Rage Channeler in play.
100%.
Just 0 mana. Look at 2 cards and draw 1.
Yeah.
He also has the fetch land in play, so something that I really like about the Mishra's Bauble is that you can look at the top card, and if you don't like it, you can shuffle your deck with the fetch land, and that way when you draw your card for the Mishra's Bauble, it's a fresh card.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to mill it, it's just...
It's a little miniature brainstorm action going on.
Yeah, sort of reminiscent of
you
Legacy.
kind of just get that little bit of extra information, and it really goes a long way over the course of many turns.
Shirtless Agent just doing its best. Three mana 2/2, chunk it in. Trying to go the distance here. Unfortunately, the 4 life total difference, it's gonna be a big deal.
Yep.
Adam sort of has a nice setup in his graveyard to utilize for, and like you said, he's actually cracking that fetch now.
Yep.
And he's going to, like, if he pulls a Murktide region out, it's going to be a big threat. If he even dashes a Ragavan right now, it's huge game. Because there's so much, like, even on 3 lands, like, you'll notice he hasn't played more than 3 lands. It doesn't matter.
Right.
3 lands is fine. Like, he doesn't, if he's only played 3 lands, that means the rest of his hand is just gas. And that the DRC right now, just no reason to do anything else. Hold up the mana, protect the DRC, and ensure that this Rhinos never resolves. And it's not like you're blocking; he's attacking with a bear.
Right, and he's now got him on a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, it could be a 1-turn clock, right?
It is a deck that plays 4 lightning bolts.
Yes, and there's a Ragavan coming down.
Yep. So we're casting a Ragavan post combat. We'll pass back to Temur Rhinos.
Totally reasonable.
Looks like we might take some game actions into turn here.
Yeah. It's probably going to cascade into something. I don't know. We're dead.
Nope, it's a dead and gone, taking care of the Ragavan.
Unfortunately, cannot kill the DRC.
What does the other half of dead and gone do?
It removes cards from the graveyard, or it's 3 mana. I don't think it's largely relevant.
Return target creature you don't control to its owner's hand.
Wow, in red. That's weird.
Yeah, that is a very weird. This is from Planar Chaos originally, right?
That makes sense.
So it's one of the color breaks.
It almost seems like a blue card on the side.
It is. It's a color break. Yeah.
I love that though. Like, I don't mind. So we got another. Are we exiling cards? Or are we playing Uro?
No, Uro. He is delving for Murktide.
Oh, he's delving for Murktide.
And it's going to get met with Counterspell from Adam.
Hang on. The Temur Rhinos deck plays Murktide region?
Typically 3 copies, yes.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Yep. It's just a card that lets him go over the top.
You're correct.
Play a very long game.
Oh, wow.
And they can put that in their deck.
Yeah, there's no like, the more mana, the better, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not play it?
Some of the lists do not play the Murktide regions in the Temur Rhinos deck. But recently, I think a lot of them have been playing it. Temur Rhinos, very, very popular in our meta.
Yeah.
And in a Rhino Mirror, an 8/8 flyer is Trump.
It's hard to beat.
In a Rhino Mirror, an 8/8 flyer is Trump.
Is that one of the cases where Gone does a lot of work in the mirror? Like, if they deploy the Murktide by exile?
Yeah, sure, I can see that.
I think that's where Gone sort of comes in.
Temur Rhinos is very popular in our meta.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players locally that play Temur Rhinos. Second copy of Dragon's Rage Channel are going to hit the board.
Yeah, unfortunately for Rhinos, we're seeing a lot of counter spells. It doesn't really matter if Rhinos resolves here, because he's not going to be able to do anything with it. So he's going to be able to cast it, put 2 4/4s in play, and then die. Because they don't have haste, right? And he's at 2 life.
Yeah, there's a lot of counterplay that he could have here, though. He could start tapping his creatures down. He could cast another Murktide region.
That is,
looks like he's going to scoop him up and go to the next game, though.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. So I I sort of see why the team doesn't want to play against this deck in the finals, right?
Well, I think, realistically speaking, Game 1 probably favors Murktide.
Okay, yep, I agree.
But once we sideboard, things change.
Well, Murktide's probably going to bring in engineered explosives, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and then what else? Flusterstorm?
Potentially.
And then I think that's maybe like a moon effect. They already mainboard moon, right?
Do not think they're going to want Blood Moon in here. This is a very, very interactive matchup.
Interesting.
This is a type of matchup where the stack matters a lot.
Yeah.
So having spells in your deck that don't do anything with the stack, not going to be great.
Do we bring in
Dress Down? We are going to want to load up on Counter Magic.
Just Counter Magic?
Dress Down, not going to do much here.
It would, Charlotte's Agent, playing in response would
No, you still get the
that's
cascade
right. Yeah, you
trigger.
still get the trigger. It's an on-cast trigger.
Yes. So, dress down, not doing anything here.
Yeah. It doesn't really
Probably
need to do
engineered explosives.
Yeah.
Maybe some additional counter magic, but I
Yeah.
think that the Murktide deck is pretty well set up to win game 1.
Yeah.
And likely games 2 and 3. So
Where's that
Rhinos has the ability to bring in a bunch of stuff.
It can bring in Force of Vigors.
Force of Negation.
Force of Negations.
Rhinos brings in Force of Negation and Mystical Dispute.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yes,
Sideboard mattering a whole lot for the Temur deck.
Yes. So, bring in Mystical Dispute. It can bring in Endurance.
Sure. I don't hate that. Although most of the Temur Rhinos decks are just playing their Endurances in the main deck.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah, because it recycles their graveyard,
that's true.
So they can make more Rhinos.
Yeah, but definitely the Mystical Disputes.
Mystical Disputes
sort of
and Force of Negation.
Force of Negation.
Absolutely.
If they have access to that. Yeah, it's hard because the Murktide deck mana is so efficient, right? Like it does so much with so little.
Right.
That Rhinos has to reach a critical mass in terms of resources to match that. And we've talked about how explosive it can be, but does it even matter if it's on the play here?
Yeah.
Like, the Murktide deck is just going to have counterplay even if it's on the draw. Like I don't see a scenario where there's a real overall swing in tempo based on play draw. It's always going to be Murktide that has more resources and objectively more cards in hand. It's like they're shuffling up. Got some focus issues we're taking care of right now. I do think that the removal is going to be really important to Team Rhinos, but I don't know. It definitely wants to have the bounce effects from the fairy, right?
So I don't think that Temur gets the option to play a control game here. I think what Temur has to do is try to resolve Rhinos. So
go all in.
They're going to use not go all in. They still have to pick a spot and go for it. But I don't think that they have the option to play a control game against the Murktide deck.
I can see that.
So I think what they have to do is find a spot where they can put Rhinos into play and then use their counter magic to try to protect the Rhinos.
I see. That makes sense. Oof. Still a hard position to be in, right?
I do not want to be on the Rhino side of this matchup.
There we go. Got the blur receipted there. And we got game 2 underway. Got a Triome on the side of the Rhinos and a Flooded Strand. And we're going to just suspend this Rhinos. I think that's totally reasonable. We just want to get things going.
Well, I do like suspending Crashing Footfalls in this matchup specifically because it doesn't require you to use one of your other cards.
Yep.
It doesn't open you up to that. You can just encourage them to go ahead and trade 1-for-1 with you as opposed to 2-for-1ing you.
It's effectively resource neutral.
Exactly.
Yeah. When Murktide's cards are so valuable,
yes,
just pulling them out of hand is totally reasonable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of right where you want to be, actually.
Yeah. I don't hate this turn 1 play at all.
Yep.
Rhino's sort of limited in what it can do turns 1. Oh, we got a Ledger Shredder.
Ledger Shredder.
Harvey Birdman, attorney at law. Yeah, I imagine he's telling him that he's going to dead it. Or no, dead it only does 2.
It will not. It will not kill it.
Ooh. Shredded wheat gonna stick around.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we've seen a Ledger Shredder on camera today.
Very good card.
Granted, I do believe the Murktide deck is kind of the only modern deck that plays the Ledger Shredder. So
a lot more popular in Legacy.
He did put it back into his graveyard. So Chris must have some kind of answer for it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder what's happening.
Is that that's an island?
Not sure what's happening here. Is it a counter spell? Or is that a subtlety?
I am not entirely sure.
Wait, is that a minor misstep?
Well, it's crashing Rhinos, so you can't play cards like that.
That's right. Mystical Dispute. That's a Mystical Dispute.
Is it?
Yeah, it costs 1 mana. That's the special printing.
I don't... Okay, I'm going to say this again. I know I say this all the time.
It's this promo right
But
here.
I cannot stand all of these different promos and printings and all this. I have no idea what these cards
are. If you want a
are.
cranky old man take, it's this one.
God, can't stand it.
It definitely...
It is the RCQ Mystical Dispute.
Yeah. Which is appropriate.
So a Violent Outburst going to put some Rhinos into play, passing back to Adam, who's going to cast an Engineered Explosives for 0.
Take 2 off of Steam Vents.
And a Ragavan hits the board.
Yeah, you definitely want to deploy that Engineer Explosives at the last possible minute, right? The question
I
is,
don't know. Putting it into play, it's just going to kill a couple of Rhinos.
Yeah,
I mean that's why it's
waiting
there.
until his opponent's
Being the control deck in this matchup, you can't really afford to take 8. That's effectively half of your 17-point life total.
Yeah, right now
you can't really afford to take 8 damage and kind of wait it out for a better time.
That's true.
There's not going to be a better time for you to pop the EE.
And there goes the Dead and Gone. I think the reason I was wondering is I don't know how many counters are left on this suspended Rhinos, right? And we got a Murktide coming in.
Yeah.
So how many instants of sorceries? 3? So it's a 6/6? Oofa doofa. Definitely making him tap out and then deploying a substantial threat, right? That's a 7/7? Holy moly.
It appears to be a 7/7.
That is a heck of a beat.
And this is kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
He was able to deploy some threats, make Murktide answer them, have follow up, and now he has his position with this Murktide Regent looks pretty good.
Expressive iteration.
Did Chris just pretend to read expressive?
Yeah.
Oh, what's this card? Let me read it.
The only format where you can play this now. Bandit Legacy, Bandit Pioneer. Legal and Vintage. Play Vintage. Good format. But yeah, out of this Team Trios, it's the only seat where this can be played. I think it is. I think the quintessential card of this deck, right?
I'm sure.
Hallmark. I don't think there's another deck in Modern that really plays it or plays it as effectively. But he needs an answer for this Murktide because, like you said, 8 is so much, and right now he's looking at a 7/7.
Yep.
Which is sort of and he's got these Rhinos also on layaway.
Yep, and he has 8 more power coming
Chris
in next turn.
So much pressure on board right now, and we're going to. I don't know what we're doing here. Cellular telephones, my friend.
He was just messing with the notifications, I think.
Yeah. So, Adam's sort of in a tough spot, right? He's shocking in another Steam Vents.
Well, we'll see what happens. I think a Brazen Borrower would look pretty good here. That looks like it's on its way to the graveyard, so...
What's he casting?
Looks like
two Unholy Heat.
Double Unholy Heat will take care of the Murktide Regent.
Yeah,
and we'll see if he's got a follow-up play for that. He's gonna
so Unholy Heat was one of the cards that turned on the one only did 2 and the other
one did 6.
Yeah. And we're suspending another Rhinos.
Consider.
Yeah, this is...
Looks like he liked the way that card looked. He did draw it.
Force of Negation.
Force of Negation is going to take care of his first crashing footfalls.
Oh, it's just a counterspell.
And... Mystical Disputes. Now Force of Negation.
There we go. Yeah,
A little counter war for you.
And again, we talked about it. Chris is just trying to burn Adam out of resources right now.
Yes,
because
that is the goal. His threats are much faster.
Yeah, he has Rhinos plus he has Murktide. Like he has all of the big threats that Izzet has. Like he has Fury, he has Murktide, And then he also has the Brazen Borrower. He's cascading now. And it's 14 isn't a low life total, but when your opponent is making 8 power with all of his plays.
Right, yep. Each card is effectively 8 power.
Look at that pile of cards. Chris is just like, come here, friend.
Cascade is one of the most miserable mechanics to resolve.
It's very difficult, especially when you're playing in a comp event where they want to see the cards that you've revealed, because it gives some intuition of intonation of the cards remaining in your hand and in your deck.
Correct.
You want to look at them.
Yes.
So it's not like you can flip quickly. Your opponent's going to want to see those. So we now just have to see if this resolves, right? Because Adam has spent a lot of resources dealing with every Rhino up until this point.
And the Rhino's deck's ability to just keep churning out threats, turn after turn after turn after turn, is just exhausting for this Izzet Murktide deck's resources.
And we have an expressive iteration coming out. Yeah, we have a Rhino suspended. We have a Rhino just resolved. And we talked about how the deck doesn't really need card advantage because every card that it has deploys 8+ power.
Right. Every card that they cast replaces itself.
It replaces itself in every conceivable way. And then to deal with each individual card is a massive pain. And now Adam's at 4.
Yep.
And we're just trying to see if there's any way he can recover from this. Because he has to deal with almost every single threat on board. We got a Fury that can deal with one thing. Still has effectively, if he has any way of bouncing this Fury or tapping it down, which we know he plays Fire Ice, right?
Yep.
He's just going to trundle in. And now he puts him
the
within
other
fire
Rhino
range.
traits, he's now down to 2.
Let's see if he fires it. Wait, can dead hit players too?
They cannot.
They
No.
cannot. Okay. So now he's going to endurance.
This is a main phase
He's endurance. Yep. Because he's tapped out. I think that's totally reasonable. What's he gonna do? He shuffles his opponent's graveyard under. Oh, I think he's.
Well, you keep him off. You keep him off of Delirium, and you keep him off of Murktide.
It basically makes it so you can't deal with either of the threats in play.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's totally reasonable. If he was under if he had any additional cards to spend, I think it's okay to put it back in. Okay,
and we are going to game 3.
Wow!
So, now might be as good a time as any to tell you that we are holding game 3 of the Pioneer at this table, which is Wyatt Darby.
Oh, right, yes.
So, once game 3 concludes here, we will get to see game 3 of Wyatt Darby versus his opponent.
Excellent. Pro Tour competitor.
Pro Tour winner, Wyatt Darby.
Oh, man. Love it. I'm pretty excited. I think this match in particular represents some very unique modern decks that don't exist in any other format. Or rather, the Murktide deck exists in very different permutations because there's the Legacy version, but two of the cards in this deck that are full play sets are banned.
Are banned in Legacy, yeah.
And are fully legal here.
Yes.
Which is, I think, shows why contextually cards are more powerful. When you have access to different things, they're more powerful. And Modern is just under the power level of Legacy, where these do just enough to not be banned, but but more than other things.
Yeah, so, it also gives the format its own unique identity.
It does, and I love that. It's sort of the reason we haven't seen a lot of the Delve spells banned in Pioneer.
Remember earlier when you were talking about reprinting cards in a Pioneer, and I was talking about format identity. That's something that you see here, and I think it's really, really important.
It definitely
for formats to have their own unique identity, even if you're reprinting cards that were at one time banned, are currently banned, or don't necessarily affect the format in a good way. It's just nice for the formats to have their own identities.
Yeah, the more you bring it up, the more I like that is that the cards or the formats have evolved in such a way that you don't want to see the same deck across
Absolutely not.
We've seen a little bit of that in Pioneer and Modern, where the Indomitable Creativity deck exists.
But they're completely different.
Exactly. The only thing about them that is the same
is Indomitable
Creativity. The targets are different. the actual, like, the payloads are different. The actual way that you play the game is different.
Yep.
Pioneer, it's way slower.
Yep.
It's much more methodical. And in Modern, it's much more, like, explosive.
Yep.
So, like, while there is some overlap in what you can play, the decks themselves have very different flavors to them. So any changes that we're seeing to the sideboard here, do you think the tech is right?
I think Rhinos might change a little bit, play draw dependent.
Might add another...
The Cavern.
Yeah, the Cavern.
Yeah.
I think that Mystical Dispute was S tier for the deck. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what I was saying in the post game one talk, is that's exactly the kind of deck, that's exactly the kind of game that this Team of Rhinos deck wants to play.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Get your threats in play, and kind of use your resources to protect them.
Uh-huh.
You can't really afford to try to play a control deck against the Izzet Murktide deck. They're just going to do that better than you every time. You have to play your threats. You have to attack. You have to make them have it. Mm-hmm. And he was able to capitalize on that. Mystical Dispute MVP in game 2.
Oh yeah, it took one of the cards that can kill you super fast in that matchup is Ledger Shredder, and it's a clean answer to Ledger Shredder for 1 mana, and then you can just hold it to protect your threats, or hold it to protect your Rhinos, like to resolve.
Yep.
And even if they're spending resources, you can hold the Mystical Dispute, and you get to choose when to use it appropriately. It's people look at cards sometimes and they think, oh, that card's not very good because it's not good in XYZ scenario. But if it's in your deck, you get to choose when to deploy it.
Yes.
And Mystical Dispute, while it appears narrow, and look, what did we do? Turn 1.
We took the playback. This is exactly how he won in round 4. He was able to put a Gemstone Caverns into play on turn 0 and effectively take the playback from the Izzet Murktide deck.
It has to do it.
This could be huge.
Yeah, it's not as
suspending a Crashing Footfalls on turn 1.
Yeah.
Once again, exactly where you want to be from the Team of Rhino standpoint.
Still difficult from from the perspective of trading resources. It's not going to give you as much of an advantage against the Murktide deck because the Murktide deck is so low to the ground. But it's genuinely oftentimes enough, right? One turn is enough.
The reason why I think that suspending the Crashing Footfalls on turn 1 is particularly good against Rhinos is because of card economy. You don't have to spend one of your Cascade spells or wait 3 turns to do it. You're putting something in play that is only going to cost you the card out of your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
You do not give the Murktide deck the opportunity to 2-for-1 you.
It also allows you to draw into a way to protect it. Like, you can later draw into a Mystical Dispute, and even if you get into a counter war and they win, they've still spent all of these cards to deal with.
And you're not out one of your Cascade spells.
Bingo. I love it. The Cascade spell is often more important than Crashing Footfalls, just because you can recycle the Footfalls, but a lot of the times those Cascade spells, you're mulliganing into them, right? You want those turn 3. It's still, like, we have a Ledger Shredder in play now, and it did resolve.
Yes. I'm not sure if it's resolved yet. I believe also the Murktide deck is on a mulligan to 5 or 6.
Oh, wow.
So that does not look good for the Murktide deck.
No, they're sort of fighting for their lives too, right? Like, they're trying to win this so that they can lock it in.
2 mana coming, a Petty Theft going to take care of the Ledger Shredder.
Excellent.
We'll see.
Good play.
We'll see if Adam has something to say about that. It looks like he does not.
What he is saying is, I will put this back in my hand.
Just going straight back to his hand.
You're putting that back in your hand? I agree. It's the correct play, right? Like, just getting it off the board. Because
you don't want them to have that Ledger Shredder around. That's how the Murktide deck gets ahead.
Yeah.
And they have one of these things in play that makes their other spells better.
Yeah. And absolutely correct. Like, everything that they do benefits the Ledger Shredder. And bouncing it and making them recast it uses so much of their resources. Like, 2 mana is a ton of resources for them. Even if the card in hand, it doesn't matter. If they're tapping mana to do that, then they're not able to utilize that mana to cast additional spells.
The Brazen Borrower is effectively time blocked.
We got a Blood Moon. That is a rough one. and we're responding.
No, he has the island.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
that is a basic island there, I believe.
I thought that flooded strand was a dual land. I thought he was.
Oh, that's a Scalding Tarn. That's one of the secret layer Scalding Tarns.
Again, it's hard for me to tell what some cards are because. But yeah, okay. So he's not in as bad a position now. We still have.
Oh, maybe that is actually a forest, and he just fetched the island.
Okay, so if he has
it looks like he's going for a violent outburst in response, or potentially flashing in this Brazen Borrower.
Good call. Oh, an endurance.
Nope, he's flashing in an endurance in response.
Totally reasonable. Whose graveyard we hitting here? Probably Adam's, right?
He doesn't have anything in his graveyard yet that's worth recycling.
Yeah, so we're definitely, because Adam's sort of building up a critical mass there, where the Unholy Heats become incredible removal, or the Murktide becomes an overwhelming threat, and just removing the ability to do that. And
it's also just a 3/4 attacker.
Yeah, it's very good. So he is, like you said, going to attack in. Gonna just pass there. While the mana is a little bit more stifled now from the Blood Moon, I don't think it. We talked about this before, where the Blood Moon doesn't. The intention for Blood Moon currently in the current modern meta isn't to lock people out.
No, it's just to make their game harder.
Yes. So like in Legacy, there's the mono red prison deck
where they try to play a Blood Moon on turn 1.
Exactly.
Yeah, and effectively make it so you don't get to play Magic.
Yes.
Yep. In that sense, it's very much like a Chalice of the Void.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In this case, in Modern, the context is so different.
It acts more like Wasteland.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a Wasteland where they get like a wastes out of it, where they get a basic
right,
out of it.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like every Modern deck that exists now in the top tiers plays a decent amount of basics. Even if you're a multicolored deck, you still run a lot of basics.
Yes.
And that maybe
the thing about Blood Moon is like not everybody's going to play around it all the time. Not everybody's going to always be thinking about it. And another thing that I really like about Blood Moon is like you can take it out and put it back in between games.
Yeah, they have to respect it.
They have to respect it, exactly. If there's a possibility that there could be a Blood Moon in your deck and you don't play around it, you get punished for it every time.
Whereas if you play around it and respect it, and it's there,
it can't punish you.
It can't punish you, but it does stifle you a touch. It does limit your capability to cast all of your spells on curve.
Right.
And Chris now, with the Crashing Footfalls, sort of poised to come in with the Endurance. All he needs is one more blue source. He can cast that the fairy that's on the adventure.
Brazen Borrower, yeah.
Brazen Borrower. I always think, for some reason, I know the adventure spell on this, but I can never remember Brazen Borrower. I know Petty Theft. I can never remember Brazen Borrower. All right, so we've got... What is this coming out?
I think it's a Fire Ice.
Is that a Fire Ice?
Yeah.
Oh, we cut that one in half.
That is the one we cut in half because it was a rare in Modern Horizons too.
It's got that
and we were like, it was, so we opened a box and it was the last rare that we opened out of the last pack. And we were like, why is this a rare?
Yeah. We hadn't really seen the set a whole lot. So Blake and I decided to cut it in half. I have the fire and he has the
I have the ice, yeah.
Treasured memories of cutting Magic cards in half. Yeah, Chris definitely in a better position now, having just bodies on the board and options. Adam appears to have flooded a bit here. He's got 5 lands in play. Chris is tapping down a land.
Yep.
Tapping down a blue source.
Basically just trying to tempo him out.
Cutting him off from counterspell.
Yep.
From hard counterspell. Which is
maybe so that he can get this Crashing Footfalls to resolve.
That is a incredible heads up play.
Yeah.
On upkeep to ice your opponent's island. And now we've got the Rhinos in play. This is 11 power.
Correct.
On board.
Yep.
And while
he has the island backup for Mystical Dispute or whatever it is. Really, really putting the pressure on Adam here.
Yeah, we've got potentially Shardless Agent. We've got a blue source and a green source.
I am not sure if that is a basic forest or if it is a a non-basic land. I'm leaning towards it is some sort of dual land.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do need green mana in order to cast either of the cascades.
Correct.
The Blood Moon doing a lot of work here. If we had another Petty Theft, we could bounce the Blood Moon. But
That's
then he's
true.
just going to be able to recast it the next turn. Being stuck sort of on 3 lands. Okay, so it's a basic.
There is a basic forest. This is a Shardless Agent.
Okay.
More Rhinos
Wow.
coming.
This deck really showing up in this game 3. Game 1, struggling a bit. Game 2, pushing through. Game 3, showing up. Like, really deploying threats. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is 16, 17, 19 power coming into play now. Which is effectively lethal if Adam doesn't have an answer.
Yep, he'll need an Engineered Explosives here to take care of it.
Which is reasonable. I think.
Outside of that, I don't know how many cards he could possibly have to answer 4/4/4s.
Chris does not have blue mana up now. So we've got the Spell Pierce. It's countering the Footfalls. He still does get the Shardless Agent.
Yep.
So every amount of power right now matters. And
you see Adam here, he's having a thorough look through all of the
Oh,
cards that were
you
revealed
do.
for Cascade.
yeah.
I think most of Chris's library was revealed for that Cascade, so he's going to get a really, really good idea of how he's sideboarded, what he's holding in his hand,
Yeah.
etc.
I agree. Yeah, it's sort of imperative that he takes a look. And being in game 3 right now, you have to take a hard look at it to know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to go on the bottom, right? Like, you shuffle and put the remaining cards on bottom.
Yep.
So, Adam probably looking to see what kind of threats are going to the bottom, looking to see how many Murktides are going,
Sure.
looking to see how many Cascades are going.
Yep.
Really trying to know everything that he can. We're in round 5. That is sort of a win-in for Adam's team.
The Temur Rhinos team is already
qualified.
locked.
Yeah.
They're already locked. Izzet Murktide is effectively a win-in, yes.
Yeah, and so they're fighting as hard as they can to get this through. Which I mean, agreed, right? Like, as you do. Competitive Magic, you want to do as best you can all the time, but especially in situations like this, where there's the potential to just get in. And we are playing 6 rounds today. So it's not just 5, it is 6.
Yep.
So even if they lose, there is potential to get in on the next.
Ledger Shredder into
Ledger Shredder. The Shredded Wheat does not trigger itself when you cast it.
The second copy does trigger the first one that was played, though.
Yeah, so we're going to have potentially a 1/3 and a 2/4 as blockers.
Yep.
He's
He's going to discard a Flusterstorm.
Yep. Not doing a whole lot in the current situation.
So I think they're just blockers, right?
Yes.
I believe they're just blockers. So the 2/4, that one can block the Endurance pretty well.
Uh-huh.
The 1/3 can block the Shardless Agent really well.
So Rhinos sort of just getting in.
The Rhinos are going to get in.
Yeah,
for
that's
8.
4. That's taking him to 4.
We do not have Delirium, so Unholy
Nope.
Heat is kind of out of the question here.
Yeah. We're just kind of explaining what's in play, what has...
Yeah, this is Chris getting advice from his teammate Daniel Seidel,
Which
I
is,
believe.
I love that.
Yep.
I love going to your teammates, especially if they
This is why you play the team, right?
Yes. You have 3 brains, effectively. Like, always piloting, always helping, always giving play advice. It's one of the only formats where you can get what is effectively outside assistance, right?
Well, that's why it's a team, because
I love that.
it's inside assistance.
It is inside assistance, but it's another brain. A lot of times, I don't know, you and I have done this before. Well, you'll be looking over my shoulder, watching me play,
Right.
unable to give me any kind of play advice.
I do frequently wish that I could smack you on the back of the head.
I'm not good at magic.
I'm just kidding.
Sir, if I was good at magic, I would not be in the booth. I'd be out there playing. But the fact of the matter is, I can talk and I'm funny. So,
I can confirm.
yeah. Yeah. So these are great bodies to get in the way of two of the attackers.
Yep.
The issue is just once they buy you a turn.
Yep.
And yeah, we're going to 4 here. That's so little.
Yep. The Rhinos do come across. It looks like he elected to keep around that Ledger Shredder trade.
Oh, there goes the.
Oh no!
So there is a trigger there for Ledger Shredder.
A dead and gone going to take care of the other Ledger Shredder. It does look like they missed that connive trigger.
It was going to die, I think. It is a trigger for them to miss. But yeah, there's on the second spell of the turn for either player.
Oh no, he's
conniving now.
He did draw for the connive trigger.
Okay, cool. He's trying to figure
Oh
out.
wait, no, sorry. He cast a consider. He's surveilling for consider right now. That's what's happening.
This is a tough spot for Izzet to be in.
I think it's just engineered explosives.
Yeah, you got to have an EU right here.
Engineered explosives plus a removal spell for the endurance. Otherwise, it's just lights out.
Yeah, being at 4 is hard. Chris has a lot of cards that can just go over, like Fire Ice can just go through.
Yep.
One of the best things about red spells is like sometimes they just close the cap.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are so many times where
there is an engineered explosives.
Oh wow. And a Ledger Shredder.
He is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, we got a game.
But
yeah,
it does look like it is improving.
Yes.
So Explosive is going to be able to take out the Rhinos.
Yep.
Ledger Shredder going to be able to at least fog for one turn.
Yes. And potentially we're gonna dead it.
Looks like Dead Gone gonna take care of Ledger Shredder.
Yep. Looks like he's gonna be going to 1 here unless he has a removal spell.
Crunch in for 11. Pop Engineered Explosives.
Go to 1.
Go to 1.
That was a crucial Engineered Explosive.
And Murktide is out of cards in hand.
He's got to have the best.
What's it going to be? 2 mana coming. It's a Ledger Shredder.
Another blocker. Let's see if he can get there.
No, that's the Ledger Shredder. He used the gone half to bounce the Ledger Shredder.
Oh.
Because, I was wondering there.
Oh, and the Unholy Heat?
An Unholy Heat is going to take care of Endurance.
He's got the connive trigger. Does he have a counter? Does he have a counter? If he has a Mystical Dispute, he can pay retail for the Mystical Dispute.
Sure.
And we're going to blow it up. Oh my god. At 1 life. This is insane. Oh, and we Otawara.
Otawara is going to bounce the Blood Moon.
Yeah, end of turn.
Okay.
So he's going to go to his turn. Fetch. Oh, he gets to fetch now. Okay.
Wow, what a nail biter.
Holy crud. And he's getting a
It's a Steam Vents.
A Steam Vents. Wow, no fear.
Plan. if he gets to untap and double Cascade spell, I'm not sure how many Crashing Footfalls he has left in his library.
He has at least 1, but all he needs is a fire right now, right?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
His opponent is empty-handed. If he can just fire, then that's game.
2 mana coming. What's it going to be? It's a Murktide Regent.
Wow! Oh my goodness. And he's going to make it an 8/8. This is a huge play. Now, if there's any way to remove the Ledger Shredder at all, he's just got it. So we've got
I wonder if he has a way to protect the Murktide Regent.
That's a good question. If he has, it's so big, so none of the reds going to be able to deal with it, right? Like even Unholy Heat.
Yeah, Unholy Heat can't kill it. No.
If he has any kind of blue bounce spell, but if he has a mystical dispute of any capacity, like
That's what I
gonna be
was.
able to
That's what I was
yeah.
thinking. Is holding the mystical dispute in hand. He's
Blood
gonna
Moon's
he's
gonna
gonna
leave
flash
one.
in the Brazen Borrower.
Yep.
Yep.
Redeploy
So
Blood Moon.
Adam puts Blood Moon on the stack. In response, Chris flashes in Brazen Borrower.
That's game.
And that'll be it. So
Okay.
real quick, we're gonna move the Pioneer match over into the feature match area.
Yes.
We'll be right back with their game 3.
Excellent. Back in just a minute, folks. Thank you.